I think
It's
you're right. You
not
got to
for
be
everybody.
very careful who you're getting your advice from. And
Practice digital distancing with
yeah.
certain people.
I love it.
Welcome back to the insurance panel. COVID-19 has been going on for about a month. We just had something recorded with Ramiz kind of pre-pandemic. We didn't know everything was going to happen. Nobody really knew this was going to happen.
How could you have known?
Yeah, how could you have known? But we wanted to reach out. I mean, Ramiz obviously has a ton of knowledge, and everything he said was just, I mean, he's at the top of his game. He is one of the best people out there for telesales. But, I mean, then we've got this guy right here with us, Jeff Root. How you doing, my friend? I mean, everybody knows your name, man. Everybody knows your name. Come on.
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I mean, Ramiz, when we talked about him, he's more about the, you know, if you're going to do telesales for final expense, you need to be a little bit more captive. And you're kind of like the, hey, no, independent's a good thing to do. And there's so many agents right now trying to do independent final expense work. So you're just the perfect guest right now. We really appreciate you being on, man.
Awesome. Well, pepper me with your questions. I'm an open book. I always have been. So,
well, I just want people to understand the level of kind of, not the level, but kind of who you are and what you've done so far, just so people know that you're a valuable source of knowledge before we really jump into all the questions. So we got a ton for you, including what kind of mic you're using, because you sound incredible.
That's just my butter voice. So I've been selling over the phone since 2007, got my license in 2006, face-to-face, Northwestern Mutual guy. Sold a batch of leads over the phone and never looked back. And been doing it ever since. I've placed over 3,000 life insurance policies 100% over the phone on my own pen. And then around 2010 is when I started kind of marketing online, generating my own leads, and it turned into an agency model. And then it turned into starting digital BGA in 2016 because we broke every carrier systems because we're more volume based as telesales, and we would just break every BGA platform out there with volume. And because they're typically smaller policies, it wasn't profitable for other BGAs. So we figured out a way to do that. And that's what we're doing now. We're 100% virtual telesales agency, train agents, build proprietary technology, and just get agents working from home, selling life insurance products.
That's super awesome, man. So you got this kind of like, you've kind of built this plug and play system. And that's incredible, man. Kind of the story is, I mean, you went right into insurance before, like most people, when I talk to them, they're like, yeah, I got in right around 2008 because they switched from the housing, but you did it right before. So kudos to you for getting in before all that stuff, man.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I was supposed to be an attorney, and because both my parents, my sister, I just couldn't sit behind paperwork, man. I needed to talk to people.
Yeah. Well, you got into the right place for that, man. Well, guys, buckle up. We're going to ask some serious questions to Jeff. To him, it's just common knowledge, but to Nick and I, no clue.
Oh, I do.
Right, Nick?
Yeah, no. I don't do telesales. Telesales, I mean, honestly, I'm doing telesales. Like I have been for a little bit. I've done, I live in the Philadelphia area, so we've been shut down a little bit longer than some of the other parts of the country. So I think this is week 4 for me of doing telesales. It might be the beginning of week 5. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm starting to lose track.
You've been kind of shut down, but like the commissioner for Pennsylvania did like a big shutdown, right?
No,
like, what was that about?
Yeah, no. The commissioner, the Department of Insurance for the state of Pennsylvania, after the governor issued a statewide stay-at-home order, found a couple of agents cold door knocking people, and they got caught, and they had, as far as I know, I believe they had their licenses taken away.
Oh my goodness!
And they are being prosecuted. And can face up to 6 months in jail time. And the Department of Insurance released a press release that day saying anybody who is caught not door knocking, soliciting an appointment in any way, shape, or form that is a face-to-face appointment will have their eligibility for a license reviewed, and will be turned over to the state police for prosecution. So if you live in Pennsylvania, please do not be trying to set appointments. You will probably lose your license and you could face jail time. I mean, that's like super serious. Don't do that.
So just watch this video,
Yeah.
learn what Jeff is about to teach us, and
Yeah.
then don't go in the field for a while.
But
Yeah.
I've been doing some phone sales, and I know I actually have a couple of friends who work with digital BGA, and they were the first people that I hit up, and said, hey, I'm stuck at home. It's March 15th. I'm stuck at home. I can't do nothing. What should I be doing? And I got a couple of tips and been trying to figure it out. And some other people have given me some advice, and I've talked to Ramiz and some other people, Joe Tritola. And I've been making it work. It's okay. It's definitely a different process. It's definitely an entirely different feel, doing stuff over the phone than it is face to face. I'm getting to where I'm starting to have normal feeling weeks. I wrote a lot last week, but there were some existing clients that were involved. But
Sure.
brand new business, I probably wrote about 6,000 last week, and
Awesome.
It's an awesome week, man.
yeah, and I'm at about like 3,000 or 4,000 right now. I need to double check because I just wrote something right before we got on this call, and I didn't add up how much that is yet. But so I'm doing okay. I'm figuring it out. I'm making it work. It's definitely possible. But at the same time, I do feel a little bit like I'm at sea. I'm figuring stuff out as I go along, and I don't know what the best practices are for phone sales as opposed to face to face.
Sure.
My first week out there, I sold one policy after dialing for 8 hours a day for 6 days in a row. And that was not good. So I'd like to not have people have to go through that. So I guess that's where we're starting is,
Yeah.
how do you
Jeff,
make that first initial transition?
Yeah, I would say, Jeff, what's the number one tip before someone jumps into independent telesales as a final expense agent? What's the number one tip that you could give?
You got to set up your system first. So when you're talking there, Nick, about how you just kind of jumped in there, my question would be like, hey, how are you calling your leads right now? Are you uploading them to a CRM? Are you like hand dialing them? That's kind of the first thing, because you'll hear it all the time. Activity is the number one thing for telesales, but you need a system to do enough activity to make everything come together and for it to work. So a lot of people are just dialing off spreadsheets or dialing off of internet leads that come to their email, for example, and printing those out or doing something along those lines. The number one thing you can do is set up a system first. That's it.
Wait, when you mean a system, you mean like a CRM?
Yeah. So, you should be able to, well, first of all, you should be able to log into a system and your next best lead to call should be already in front of you. You shouldn't have to figure out who to call next. So you either click a dialer button or you click to call and, click to call the lead and then you disposition it, right? Then the next best lead to call is immediately in front of you after you disposition it. So you just keep going down there. So you can create a system where you can customize the workflow. So there's a bunch of systems out there. One that a lot of very successful high volume final expense agents use is VanillaSoft. Another one I heard about that's supposedly really good. I haven't seen in action, but some people swear by it, is GoHighLevel.com. Those two you can, I believe for Go High Level, you can customize the workflow, but for VanillaSoft, you can. Basically, all that means is that you want to make sure you call your leads at least 3 times on day one, right? And then you triple dial the first one. Call it 3 times in a row. But call it, again, 30 minutes later, and then call it again 3 hours later. So that's something that agents aren't doing. You can program that into your system so that lead comes back after you disposition it. You didn't get a hold of it, comes back to the top of your queue. So you know that at the end of every day, all you have to do is clear out your call queue, and you're on top of every single one of your leads. So you can do that with these custom workflows, and that's what I mean by a system.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Just to kind of what's that?
It's better than what I've got going on now. I mean, I use a CRM.
Yeah.
I do. I use a CRM, and I use a CRM that was set up for setting appointments.
Yep.
And it's designed to manage my leads so that I can set up appointments and get stuff knocked down. And it's really designed to, like, while I'm out in the field, it has mapping features and stuff like that, but stuff that makes no sense.
Yeah.
If you're doing this,
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, for somebody to take just this part of the call, let me just kind of just give a high level overview on how to set that up so somebody can go in there and do that.
Yeah.
So what you do is there's settings areas in these CRMs that you can schedule your calls and disposition them. So new lead comes in, priority number 1 at the top of your call queue, right? All the time. New lead's always at the top, and you're just clicking down a list or dialing down a list, right? So you set that one for an immediate call. And then if you don't get a hold of that, you click no contact, and then it goes to contact attempt 2. It disappears from your queue and comes back as attempting contact number 2. And then, it'll come back 45 minutes later, and then 3 hours later. And then if you wanted to come back the next day, maybe 8 to 12 hours later. And that's how you kind of set up your settings in your CRM, is based on the status. So, and you want it to come back, but you can also trigger emails and texts automated from your platform. So as you're making the calls and dispositioning, they are getting texts and emails directly from you. And that's really big. So you don't have to send,
You have to hand type it every time.
Yeah, well, hand typed or even canned emails. People have these copy and paste jobs where they'll send an email out. The system can do that for you. So if before you go, take a day or two and just dive into a platform like VanillaSoft. Go High Level's another one I heard. There's probably others out there I just don't know of. But that is, that's the gist of it. So you just want to be able to log in and go, not worry about who you're going to call next, and so on.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
that makes all the sense in the world.
That makes all the sense in the world.
No, that just, that seems like common sense, but it's, again, I've been doing this for 3 or 4 weeks now, and I hadn't even considered doing, changing up things like that. I'm not texting my leads. There's a little bit of an element of, I do worry a bit about TCPA compliance when I go to text leads. I'm running my own Facebook ads. And there is some TCPA language in those Facebook ads. But what are you looking at when you're talking about, if you're going to start texting leads and stuff? What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? How does that all work?
Sure. So number 1, there's a lot of people giving bad telesales advice. One of the things I've seen, I think I got an email on LinkedIn today from an agency that's promoting their telesales program, where I talked to them maybe 2 weeks ago, and they were freaking out because they're down 70% and asking to use our platform and everything. And we gave them a bunch of advice, but I see this email directly from the guy, and it says how just last week somebody wrote $4,000 in business just off of texting. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea what you're doing. And he's recruiting agents this way, right? And the thing is with texting, to answer your question, Matthew, is you need to put a disclaimer if it's an automated text going out. So click stop, to be removed from this list. All of our texts that go out from our platform have that. So if you get a text back that says stop, you remove them from your text. And you can program, and most CRMs have a program that if they do text stop back, it'll prohibit you from texting them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it does look a little spammy. You're not going to get a lot more return, text back. If I got a text back that says, click stop to unsubscribe, I'll probably be like, okay, this was automated, but agents are getting a lot of responses from it still. But the thing is, to be TCPA compliant, you need to have an opt-out. Just like with email, you need to have an opt-out. It's the same thing with text. And I see a lot of agents making that mistake right now, just texting their leads without an opt-out. And I'm sure most agents are going to be fine, but it's going to be that professional plaintiff that you're going to text, who's going to get you.
Well, and that's the thing, just as final expense is starting to blow up, there are people putting out YouTube videos teaching people how to become professional plaintiffs to make money in this time period, as a side hustle. You're going to start suing people. And so really people need to be very, very careful. If you're going to start doing something, make sure you know what you're doing and what you're doing is legal.
We've actually been sued by professional plaintiffs. We fought them off because we showed them everything that we've done right. We have our compliance in place, but they're out there. And I'll tell you this, if, It's probably good to touch right now on a couple more TCPA things before I
Yes,
make my next
please.
point here, because I think this is a big risk for agents hopping in right now.
Yep.
Because I'm already seeing texts flying out of people's CRMs that don't have the opt-out language, you know? You cannot call a lead more than 90 days old unless it's on the do not call list. So if you have a lead that's 90 days old, you got to scrub that thing before you call it again, okay? So I know of a lot of agencies. The agency that hit me up on LinkedIn today, for example, they bought 1 million aged final expense leads, right? I know of a couple agencies that did that, by the way. But the thing is, I hope to God they scrubbed those lists against the DNC and didn't put those agents at risk, because they don't know any better. They're advertising as 100 free leads a week to get on our telesales platform, you know, with their B leads, which are basically age leads. But I know who they bought that from. I'll say it. They bought it from Assurance. And those Assurances, like the massive, massive call center with remote agents, right? And I guarantee you those calls were made at least 50 or 60 times. Like they're calling prospects that just never got a hold of and that were past 90 days old, you know? But we asked them about the TCPA language on that. And I'm like, dude, you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting your agents at risk. You know, did you sign some sort of liability waiver, you know, with them that they'll kind of back you up if you get a complaint? It's like, no. I'm like, you can't do that. So there's a lot of people taking risks out there. Like, it looks shiny and cool to get 100, you know, free leads a week into a platform, but you got to question people right now. Okay,
Yeah.
where is that data coming from? Is it TCPA compliant? If my butt gets, you know, sued, can you back me up? You know, that's massive. So, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Would it be too much to ask? And it might be a disclaimer that you said for like a text or email. Is there something that like a copy that you can give that we can put in the description of this video? Just something super generic, or do you have it? Is it kind of like of your own, or is there something very?
Yeah. So it's super short. I'll get you the exact copy, but it's press stop to unsubscribe, something like that.
Okay.
Or text stop to stop receiving these messages.
Got it.
What it is with a
big at the end of the text message.
At the end, a couple lines down. Yeah.
Okay.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds easy, but guys, we're going to put it in the description down there. If you just want to copy and paste that, learn your CRM, learn if you're going to do these text messages, put this at the end, because how much is one of those complaints? I've never had one, thank the Lord. How much is one of those?
I've seen them come through. It would put an agent out of business. So I've seen them settle between $8,000 and $50,000. What's going to happen is they're going to try and get a class action lawsuit against you. So they're going to see that one text, but they're going to go after all the records with their attorney to see how many of those texts you actually sent out.
Oof.
But maybe only like, I think it's like $500 to $1,500 per occurrence, depending on what state you're in. So people say, oh, it's only like a $1,500 fine, I can pay that. But they're going to go back through your CRM. If you deleted a bunch of stuff, that's going to be brought against you, and it's going to be a higher settlement. Like, the first thing they're going to do is request that data and go after every single time you sent a text that didn't have that. And they're going to get you $1,500 for each occurrence. So it can add up to a lot of money. And so, you know, I've seen agents that have done this more about, you know, using offshore telemarketing, because they're calling on what they're being sold on its TCPA compliant data, right?
Right.
Offshore guys have no idea what TCPA compliant data is, because they're also calling cell phones with an automated dialer system. You cannot do that. That's number one against TCPA. Even if you, if just a call is made, not even if they answer it, you make a call from an automated dialer system to a cell phone, that's illegal. That's how these offshore companies are generating these telemarketed leads. And we've seen agents hit for that and pay 10 to 50 grand.
Whew.
Like, just, they won't go after the offshore company because they know they can't.
Sure.
Somebody in the Philippines, yeah. So they're going to go after the agent who has money.
Right.
But yeah, they put them on a payment plan, but they're still out 8 to 50 grand. Like, it's insane. It's just depending on who the plaintiff is, who your attorney is. Yeah. It's nuts. You have to have precautions in place. One of the things we have in place, there's this thing that if you're serious about telesales, I recommend you do this. It's called the TCPA Blacklist Alliance. Every TCPA plaintiff gets on this list, and you have an API and you can scrub before it hits your CRM. So it costs money. So I mean, we're scrubbing out 2 to 3 leads a day from our platform. People, the family member. So there's this kind of fight back in the industry with this TCPA Blacklist Alliance. So anyway, that's one thing that we do to kind of protect our agents on top of that.
Okay. That's awesome.
That's huge. That's because that's the kind of thing. If you're jumping into telesales for the first time, and especially if you're doing it as an independent, you don't have any kind of massive structure or organization behind you. You're right. It's the stuff that'll put somebody out of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of auto dialers, I know a lot of people are talking about dialers and dialing systems right now. As a general rule, should agents be using auto dialers?
So I say no to. I want to differentiate between a power dialer and an auto dialer.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, please, because I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
That's a really good. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So we use a power dialer, and
Okay.
and VanillaSoft has a power dialer as well. I don't know about the other service I mentioned, the Go High Level. Like I said, I've never used them, but you basically click a button, it calls, and then it goes to the next lead, and then it keeps going, calling until you're connected with somebody. So an auto dialer calls like 2 or 3 lines at once, or 4 lines at once, And when you get those auto dialers, you get a pause at the very beginning of a call, which throws everybody off. Everybody knows it's a telemarketed call from offshore if there's a big 3 to 5 second pause at the beginning of the call. So a lot of people like to toss age leads into a 3-line dialer. I actually used to do that back in 2012, and it worked great. That's what I did for about a year to write business as an independent agent. But I don't recommend it for new leads, attempting contacts, or anything like that at all.
It's good to know.
So a power dialer,
Yep.
Not an auto dialer.
It dials one at a time.
Yep.
Calls for that lead, then goes to the next one.
So and a power dialer, if it's goes to ringtone or voicemail, shuts it off and automatically dials the next one, just kind of saving you the time and having to type it all in, right?
Right.
Got it.
Right. Exactly. So it'll call the lead, disposition it if there's no answer, call the next lead. Basically, you're just waiting until you get connected with somebody.
Okay. That's super cool.
Yep. So
that's a lot of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Making sure you're getting all the leads going in and you're getting them called in the right order. And all of that. You're starting to hear a lot of people talk about making sure you triple dial people that first time. That's something that's starting to get out there and
Mm-hmm.
people are hearing about. What are your thoughts on things like, you get somebody on the phone, it's a Facebook lead, and you can tell that they're in the car, or they're they answered the phone at the grocery store, and you can kind of hear the music in the background and everything. Do you just bail out of that call? Do you try and schedule an appointment? Do you just say, hey, I'll catch you another time?
Yeah, so we don't, on those calls, I treat it as I didn't get a hold of them, and I call back in whatever the queue says, 3 hours later, the next day or whatever.
Okay.
If somebody says, call me back later tonight, I try and, you try and get around that. This won't take that long, and then pivot back into the script is what we train agents to do.
Sure.
Because it might be a smoke screen, but really if you can tell they're at the supermarket or whatever and they answer their phone, then I would just put them back in their attempting contact and call them later. Even if they say, hey, call me back tonight. A lot of agents will set that appointment to call back tonight, but that's not a real appointment in my opinion.
Sure.
A real appointment is somebody who you actually you talk to them about final expense life insurance, and then you schedule a call back. That's a real appointment.
Right.
So I would just put them back in the attempting contact queue in that situation.
Yeah. And at the beginning of this, you talked about, priority number 1 is your new leads. And I know we talked about, old leads and stuff like that, power dialers, but I know that new leads are super important. And there's a lot of people, we touched on this all the time, and Nick said it too, making your own leads as an independent agent. Would you suggest someone learning how to do that by themselves, or would you suggest them buy a course, or would you just say, hey, don't learn how to do that, go to a company that's going to sell? Obviously they're going to make money, they're in business to make money, but don't waste your time, just focus on selling. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so every agent in telesales should be able to generate their own leads. You don't need to rely on anybody else out there. I mean, it's pretty dang easy to generate a final expense Facebook leads these days. If you're just totally don't know what you're doing, yeah, take a course. I mean, I highly recommend taking a course if you don't know what you're doing. But if you're familiar with Facebook, you're tech savvy, you could probably put something together yourself and be generating your leads within 48 hours. It's not that hard if you just really dive into it. There's free courses out there that can get you, 70% of the way there. And then, lean on a Facebook group or some buddies who are doing it to get you the rest of the way there. But yeah, take a course, generate your own leads, make sure those Facebook leads post into your CRM through Zapier. Make sure you set up that post. So new lead, just generate a lead, immediately at the top of your CRM to call.
Sure.
And it gets that email and all that. So yeah, highly recommend if you can do that. That is the most cost-effective way to do it. Not only because of the cost, but because
you know what the lead says.
You know what the lead says. When they submit it, you can put your phone number on there. Like, you will generate some inbound activity, and that's massive. So if you can figure that out, you can optimize your own lead. That's huge, And I wouldn't get too caught up in people saying, "Hey, you can generate a lead for $3 to $4 to $5."
Mm-mm.
The language is different for everybody. Like, if you're using state approved plans and don't mention life insurance or a cost or anything like that, yeah, you're going to get a lot of leads that think it's free that you're paying $3 to $4, $3 for.
Yeah. I've seen so many of the people on Facebook that show, they're like, "Hey, I generated 20 leads today for $3.93 a piece." Well, it doesn't show what the lead says.
Right.
I can make a lead that's saying, "Hey, I'm going to give out free cell phones if you give me information," and I'll get a 12-cent lead.
Right.
And then I can show it and be like, "I'm some marketing genius." Well, you're good at marketing to everybody else because it's really a false advertisement. But to make a good final expense lead, generally I've seen it $7 to $12 depending on the lead.
Yeah. I mean, if you're targeting locally, yeah. I mean, a statewide telesales lead, you can generate a good lead for around $6 to $7.
Yep.
And so that's another thing. Don't pay attention to those telesales wannabes out there that are saying, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to generate a Facebook lead for $3 or $4.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when you factor in,
be scared of those people. Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and so what's some of the other weird stuff as somebody who does telesales? Like, I know when I see people talking about face-to-face final expense sales, there is stuff that comes up all the time that I see that is just like, "Oh my God, why are people listening to this guy?" What's some of the stuff that you don't need to name names, but like,
yeah, I won't.
Like, what's the kind of stuff that you're seeing that is actively bad advice that people are getting at the moment? Because I'm sure it's out there.
Okay, so first of all, just because it's fresh on my mind, I saw a telesales webinar this week in a Facebook group that's going on, face-to-face agency hosting it, like a known face-to-face agency hosting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 months ago, that same agency scheduled a call with me and admitted their expertise is face-to-face, but wants a telesales option for their agents. This is pre-COVID, like just BGAs talking to each other. Wanted access to the training and the tech and leads, and we politely declined, yet now he's there training on telesales and training on how to sell life insurance and specifically final expense over the phone and giving out this information, when 2 months ago, I know he admitted he had no clue about it. So I would say, number one, be careful who you're getting your information on. This uncertainty has created a lot of opportunity for people to position themselves as this telesales, not guru, but just expert. And a lot of people are taking advantage of it. It's going to hurt a lot of people. And I don't have time to go on these webinars to fact check everything that's on there, but I see it. And every time I just roll my eyes, like just be careful who you're getting your training from there. That's one of the things. Another thing too is I'm just seeing a lot of people just buying a bunch of aged leads. I know I mentioned it before, and thinking it's a Band-Aid. Don't. I mean, final expense telesales is all about volume. I think Ramiz said that in the interview before. It really is. It's about volume. It's about activity. You need a lot of leads, but you also need good leads. You want to be talking to people, and you also want to do it safely. If you can generate your own lead on Facebook, that's already compliant. So, I mean, I would just say be careful of the internet leads you're working, and be careful of the people you're listening to out there, because really they can put you in a bad situation that you don't even know. They don't even know
Right.
that they're putting you in a bad situation. And that's what's getting to me right now, because the spotlight is on telesales right now. Like, it's shining bright on telesales, and it's really it's been really hard for me and a lot of telesales people out there to see a lot of the information going on and knowing how many agents are going to get hurt over these next few months. So not just from like a potential TCPA complaint, but just spending their money and not getting any return on it, you know, in a time where every single dollar counts and we don't know what's going to happen. You know, that's the hardest part for me to watch what's going on. And so I would just say, be careful who you're getting your information from. And
Yeah. I mean, you touched on it well, and Ramiz said this too. He's like, you know, the people that were doing this before the pandemic are probably people that you want to listen to, right? Ramiz is fantastic advice. You have fantastic advice. Don't go to Nick Frumpkin and be like, hey, what are you doing for telesales? Because he'll be like, no idea.
And
Nick
people do. They're like, hey, I'm hearing you're doing okay right now. Like, you're making
reaching out to us. People reaching out to us at theinsurancepanel@gmail.com. Reach out to us. And they're asking questions, and we are responding with like, we have no clue. Please don't ask us. But guys, just because you're getting advice from somebody who was doing it before the pandemic, it's great advice, doesn't mean you have to work with that person. Jeff is coming on here and just being like, guys, you don't have to work with me. Just take my advice, use it. Don't get yourself in trouble. Like, and we thank you so much for that. We're trying to provide a lot of stuff for you guys right now. And Jeff and Ramiz and everybody that's jumping on right now, you guys are super awesome. Thank you for, you know, taking the time to do this. We're not done. I just want to thank you again for being on here, man.
Yeah. Well, my whole purpose on doing this was to save agents right now. Like, if you can hear this one message and, you know, and not send that text blast, or not, you know, not take those offshore leads from that LinkedIn marketer that's hitting you up and hitting everybody up, you know, then, you know, that's really what I really want to get across, because I really don't know how I haven't gone deep into what these people are offering. And I'm scared to, like, I'm scared on what I find. What can I possibly do? We've already warned some agencies, hey, you should not do this. And they do it anyway. And they're asking our advice because, you know, they're agency owners and they're scared of the drop in their business. And you made a good point, Matthew. There are agents that are doing super well without much training in telesales right now. And that's an indication of the time we're in right now. It is the best conditions to sell final expense life insurance over the phone. Mm-hmm. So anybody can do it. It's a perfect time to jump in. You really can't go wrong if you work any Facebook lead at a decent cost, you know, with decent language. But you really can't, if you're doing the activity, you're following, you know, sales processes, you really can't go wrong right now. So people are going to see a lot of success right now, and I love seeing it, and I hope it's good for telesales. But at the same time, I don't know how long that's going to last, you know?
Right.
And I don't know if, and maybe, and this could be a big part of it, maybe these people who are doing telesales for the first time, maybe they were born to be a telesales agent. You don't know, they never tried it, you know? Yeah. And maybe some of them will shift to telesales, but for the most part, a lot of the agencies that have these new telesales program, I know of 3 who admittedly have a telesales program, who have never done it in the past. Their plan is to go right back to face-to-face sales as soon as the quarantines and the shelter in places are done. And to me, that's just, I mean, why? I mean, just go find a telesales agency or somebody who can train you, get you going, have them sign like a pre-release or something to say, hey, when this thing comes back, I'm gonna go back to face-to-face, you know, but at the same time, I know I'm getting the best, you know, the best training, the best information that I can get. But just letting you know, hey, I'm going to go back to face-to-face when I'm done, and then go back to your agency like that. I mean, personally, I wouldn't take those agents, but there's other agencies out there that would, you know?
Right.
Definitely, yeah.
Well,
just
that's
practice. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say. I mean, that's the trick. Like, if you tell an agency that you're planning on only being there for the next 6 to 12 weeks.
Right.
There's not a lot of agencies that are going to want those people. But that doesn't mean that that you can't get up and running on your own if your plan is to not be permanently in telesales. You can, be compliant, be aware, educate yourself, get some systems in place, and at least continue to make money for you and your family for a while. I'll tell you, for me, I mean, it is like I'm doing okay. I'm making money. It's not for me. I don't like it. It's not. I like going out and I like talking to people in person, and I don't love being on the phone and sitting at a desk all day. And it's not for me. But I can see why it would be for some people. Like, I mean, there's definitely upsides to it. Like, I like that I get to go downstairs and hang out with my wife and kids when I eat lunch instead of, being an hour and a half away from home. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like when I'm done, I just walk downstairs and I'm done. I'm not driving home for an hour. There's good sides.
I'm wearing shorts right now. It's great. You can only see this top half, guys. That's another beauty of telesales.
Yeah. There's definitely advantages to it, but there is, but I think you're right. You got to be very careful who you're getting your advice from, and
practice digital distancing with certain people.
I love it. I have to adopt that.
Yeah, no, trademark that one. Ryan, clip that in the start. Thank you, sir. Practice digital distancing from certain people, guys. I mean, this has been incredible. Is there anything else that you would just want to give out to the people? I mean, just to recap. Number one, guys, first and foremost, just be super safe. If you have a question, reach out to somebody that's been doing it pre-pandemic. Don't take it from who you're taking it from right now. It doesn't mean they don't know it. It just means just be safe. Just be extra careful. 2, get a system in place. Find a CRM, dive into it for a couple days, learn it, understand it, have the queue, the first lead coming in, top of the line, have it dial, 3 times, disposition it so it calls back in a couple hours, an hour or 3 hours. You said an hour or 3 hours?
Yeah. So immediate, 30 to 45 minutes later.
Got it.
And then 3 hours. And then the next day 2 times, the next day 2 times, the next day 2 times. And just, 4 to 6 hours apart.
Yep. That's perfect. And to make your own leads, guys, I've been pushing Nick. Finally, Nick's really getting into it, and I love it. Learn how to make your own leads. You've got to learn how. As an independent agent, I think everybody should. It doesn't mean that you need to make your own leads, after this blows over, but it's really nice knowing how to find other people's leads that they're selling for $15, $20, $25 a pop, and knowing the quality that you're getting, knowing that you're buying a $4 lead for $25 is very powerful. Having that knowledge is super powerful, and being able to generate your own and being TCPA compliant is one of the biggest things. Guys, we're going to put a description in there. Like, make sure you put that opt-out text in there as well. You've got to have it, because you do not want to scrub the do not call list twice. There's another thing that you talked about the Blacklist Alliance.
TCPA Blacklist Alliance. I mean, I'd say that's more for agencies that are doing volume leads.
Got it.
Scrub that out. But if you're doing Facebook leads, you don't have to worry anything about that.
Okay. So if you generate your own, then you've already got the opt-in. They've already opted in because of Facebook's policy and your own policy that you add in there as well.
Yep.
But if you're working your old direct mail leads that you've been getting, and you've got like 5,000 of your own old leads that got mailed back to you, but some of them are 2-3 years old, 6 months old even.
Sure.
It's probably good to make sure that those are still okay to call. And just be safe out there.
Yeah. If there's a lesson learned here for everybody in the industry, I read this book about, almost 10 years ago, called Great by Choice, and it had this idea of productive paranoia, and that has stuck with me during this whole thing. And it's why some agents, I'm going to call them agents right now, but why some companies thrive during uncertain times and chaos. And for our industry and independent agents, we always need to be asking, what if, what if we couldn't go into people's homes? It just happened, What if direct mail was no longer cost effective? What if my market shifted online to purchase final expense insurance? Who knows, But like, what are your biggest risks as an agent and where you are today, face-to-face, even telesales, and how can you be best prepared to navigate them? The book talks about having like a war chest, like building reserves and having cash on hand to weather the storm.
Mm-hmm.
We know most agents aren't able to do that. And so, but doing that, you have a flexibility in your business. It talks about, firing bullets, then cannonballs. And that is a big thing in generating leads. For us, that can mean diversifying our leads, starting a Facebook campaign at $10 a day, $20 a day, generating a few, leads at an acceptable cost, making a few sales. You found your target. Now, ramp that thing up to $75 to $100, $200 a day,
Mm-hmm.
fire that cannonball. So,
That's right.
Just think about it, like, just think about the what if scenarios, like moving forward, because something just happened that a lot of people weren't prepared for. And you always need to know the threats in your business. And it's part of doing a SWOT analysis if you do a SWOT analysis, but you can understand your threats, you can be a little bit more prepared in the future. That's the biggest takeaway for everybody here. Who knows what the next thing is going to be,
Yeah. Be prepared.
Golly.
Yep.
Golly. Jeff, you're awesome, man. I'm finally glad I got to meet you kind of face-to-face, digitally face-to-face, man. I know we never really got to talk and ever really get to meet each other. But next time I'm in Austin, Texas, I'll show you what real barbecue is.
We'll do a comparison. All right.
That's good, man. Guys, please, if you found value in this, and just so you know, Jeff, we usually do like a one-on-one. I'm doing one with Ramiz, I think sometime later this week. Nick, you can probably do one with Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a ton of questions going to come after this. It's kind of like a secondary call. It's just to ask like any questions people may have. You can obviously go in there and reply to them on the YouTube channel, but also we like to do a secondary video, and I'm sure that'll be an awesome one. So guys, if you have questions, put them down in the comments. We'll try to answer them. We're going to get them answered with Jeff, but if Jeff, you have time to answer them, please do it.
Absolutely. And I'm like, reach out to you guys, to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. Ramiz, I know, is answering questions, even if you don't work with us. Like, we just want to get good information out there, because this is a trying time for a lot of families, even in our own industry. So it just got to get back.
Yeah. And guys, give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe. We're close. We're so close to 500 subscribers. And the other thing, Jeff, are you subscribed to YouTube channel? If not, this is not going on YouTube.
I am.
That's what I'm talking about. Every guest we have has been subscribed, and I'm telling you, I will blacklist that person from being posted if they're not subscribed when they come on. So I appreciate you being subscribed. Guys, it's been wonderful, Jeff. Seriously, really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, of course, guys.
See you guys.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
See you guys later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, guys.